What's up guys, Coach Az here. Today I want to share with you a conversation that I had with one of my students yesterday and share the advice that I gave them in relation to this that was given to me when I was a kid. And it was great advice that was really useful for both my martial arts career in terms of as a fighter, as a coach, and life in general. Now this student was one of my kids, so we're talking like 10 years of age, 10 to 11. So we got to keep that in mind when we're going through this story. We'd started the class and the class begins with some calisthenics with some warm-up. So had them doing some press-ups and he barked up and he said, "I don't want to do press-ups." And I told him, well, you have to do press-ups. It's part of the lesson plan. It's part of the warm-up today. That's what you have to do. Get down, do the press-ups. Now in fairness to him, he got down, he did the press-ups, he carried on with the rest of the class, no issue. But I pulled him aside at the end of class to have a little chat about why he was feeling the way he was feeling, why he said what he said, and just to get a better understanding of things. So I asked him at the end of the class, why didn't you want to do the press-ups? He said, I don't enjoy the press-ups. I don't enjoy the fitness part of training. I just want to do the sparring. And in all fairness to him, I completely sympathize with the way he was feeling. So my equivalent to what he was saying is road work. I don't really enjoy running. I never have. I've never found a way to make it a fun part of my training. And yes, I know there's loads of alternatives. You could swim, you could ride a bike, all the rest of it. But I've always known that the best benefits I've had in terms of cardio have come from me going out and doing running. So especially back in my fighting days, it was something that I had to do, but I knew that if I did it, I would see great benefits from it, regardless of the fact that I really didn't enjoy doing it at all. Now, very similar to this student, I love sparring. I could spar all day, I could spar every day. That's what I want to do within my training. But the advice that I was given and that I handed down to this young man was there are things in life that we want to do. There are things in life that we get to do, and there are things in life that we need to do. So I urge you to think about these three areas and put them and associate them with your training. For example, you want to spar, you get to do pad work, and you need to go running. The want area of your training is easy. You don't need any motivation to do that part of it, whether that be the bag work, the pad work with your coach, the sparring sessions, going out to compete, all the rest of it. The get to part of training, this is the stuff that you don't mind. Once you get started, you enjoy it. Pad drills, technical drills, maybe it's skipping, maybe it's strength and conditioning. And the have to or need to part, this is the stuff that you really don't enjoy. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's fine to say that there's elements of your training that you don't enjoy doing. The common ones are things like extra cardio, strength and conditioning, stretching. For a lot of people, these areas of training don't bring them any joy, don't bring them any pleasure. And if they could, they just wouldn't do them. The problem is that if we have this attitude towards it, we're going to be leaving a lot of things behind. I've had students in the past ask me how they can get their kicks higher. And I've told them, well, you need to stretch. They've told me, I don't like stretching. I don't want to stretch. What else can I do? There's nothing else. That's what you need to do. Coach, I want to put on a bit more weight. I want to move up a weight division. Well, you need to eat more calories and you need to start doing some strength training. Oh, I really don't enjoy lifting weights. I can't eat any more than what I already eat. It makes me feel sick. Well, that's what you need to do. I've seen it far too many times where people don't live up to their full potential in their training because they choose intentionally to leave out certain elements. A lot of people, that might be sparring. They find the sparring intimidating, they're scared of it, so they don't want to do it. They'd much rather just hit the bag, hit the pads, and do their fitness, and they never engage with a sparring session, mostly out of fear. But if your objective is to get good at fighting, whether that be to compete or to defend yourself if ever necessary, then sparring has to be a part of that. It's a necessary part of the process. So if you came to one of my kickboxing classes, you would be doing some form of fitness, some form of stretching, some form of technical work, some form of sparring. Now for some, all these elements of their training are enjoyable and it's no issue. But for some people, I can see it where it gets to a certain point in the class and they're filled with dread. And even if it's not dread, it's just a pure disdain. Like this kid, he's not scared of press-ups, he wasn't upset about it, he just didn't want to do it. He didn't have any passion for it, he didn't have any drive. My job as a coach, and what my advice is to you if you're dealing with this on a personal level, is you need to make sure that the why, the reason for doing it, is bigger than your hatred or your disdain for the things that you need to do. So going back to my example of not enjoying running, as much as I disdain the idea of running, The thing that I would hate even more than that is if I was in a fight and I gassed out before my opponent. I got tired in the later rounds and I started losing a fight that otherwise I was going to win because I was more technically proficient, because I was a better fighter, but my gas tank let me down because I didn't get those miles in. The idea being here that when it came to the day that I'd have to go for a run and those feelings would start coming over me about not wanting to go, not wanting to do it, what I'd focus on is that feeling of being so tired in a fight that you can't even lift your arms. I'd focus on how much that would bother me, how much I wouldn't like to be going through that. And I'd realize very quickly in my mind that as much as I might not enjoy this run, I know I would enjoy that feeling even less. At the end of the day, what it really comes down to is your priorities. What's important to you, and ensuring that you get those things done regardless of how you feel about it. I can tell you with confidence that sometimes motivation isn't going to be there, even for the things you enjoy. Sometimes excitement isn't going to be there. That's when discipline is required. That's when you need to get focused and get really clear about what your goals are and what you need to do in order to achieve it. So here's my advice. Grab a piece of paper and write down for yourself the things that you want to do within your training, the things that you get to do, and the things that you need to do. Want are the things you're excited about. It doesn't take any motivation. No one needs to push you in order to do these things. Get are the things that once you're doing them, you're into it and you're fine. You might just need something to get you over the edge, get you through the door. And the needs, these are the things, like I said, you don't enjoy, and you need to find pathways to ensure that these things get done. And this isn't exclusive to training, so this goes as far to things such as rest and recovery. Maybe your nutrition isn't what it should be. Maybe your hydration isn't what it should be. Maybe your sleep isn't what it should be. So keep these things in mind when you're writing down this list. Now we can ignore the want to list. That stuff's kind of covered for itself. Take a look at the second list, which is the get to. These are the bits that you don't mind. And try to identify what it takes to get you to the point where you're doing it. More often than not, this is just walking out your door, getting to the gym, bowing in at a class, getting started, and you're fine. And just try to find ways to make that process a little bit easier. What can get you through that door a little bit faster? What's going to stop you deciding to stay home and sit on the couch instead of go out and do this activity? This might be as simple as leaving some gloves in your car at all times so that you're always ready to jump in on a pad session. It takes away that ability for you to have that little excuse to stop you doing it, even though you probably would enjoy it if you just went and got on with it in the first place. Finally, this need to list, we need to look a little bit deeper into it. Again, take that element of training or that element of your process that you don't enjoy, and you need to now think about the big picture benefits of why you do it. If we look at that example of the stretching and wanting to get a higher kick, it's all about determining what holds more value for you. Is it the ability to raise your leg to the head and be able to kick someone? Does that carry more weight than what it would take to do 10 to 15 minutes stretching every single day? If it's not, maybe you need to run a little deeper into it. If you start getting to the point where this stiffness and tightness is causing you pain, causing you discomfort, and stopping you from even being able to raise your leg body height or rotate your hips properly into a punch, you're now actually losing functionality. You're losing the ability to perform in your sport at a basic level, where even though you have the knowledge and the experience and you're putting in the time, because you're not looking after this area, it's going to start affecting and damaging everything else. At the end of the day, sparring is just more fun when you're able to kick someone in the head. Guys, I'm not going to ramble on too much about this today. I think you get the idea. Please like the video, hit subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.